Hi there. Today I'm going to be talking about the 4 phases of our menstrual cycle, and today we're going to start with just phase 1, which is our menstrual phase. The rest of the month I'll be going over each one of the phases, so keep an eye out for the upcoming videos, and if you're watching this in the future, there should be a playlist linked in the description below of all 4 of the videos. If you haven't already watched, I have another video about successful monthly planning for women that talks about how we can live in sync with our hormones throughout the month and set ourselves up for success. So that might be something that you're interested in as well if you're interested in this video about our menstrual phase. So after today, you'll be able to know what your hormones look like during this time normally, what common problems are, and how to support yourself nutritionally in your menstrual phase. So first, let's talk about what the hormones look like during this phase. So I'm gonna have you jump down to my computer desktop so you can be able to take a look at what these are, and we can do that together and walk through it. So as you can see here, the menstrual phase, it really has 3 hormones that we're gonna be looking at today. There are more that affect our hormonal rhythm, but these are 3 main ones that are very common that are going to contribute to different parts of our hormonal cycle. So as you can see in the menstrual phase, a lot of these hormones are low compared with what they're going to look like at other times of the month. So our testosterone is the highest, but our estrogen is rather low and our progesterone are also rather low. Estrogen and progesterone, they can contribute to us, for example, estrogen feeling stronger, being able to recover better, and our progesterone can keep us more calm and mellow. It's kind of considered a nesting hormone. So with all of those things being low, it's really a low energy time of the month as well. So just keep that in mind. That's probably why most women don't feel like running a marathon during this period of time. Whether they run marathons or not, they're more retreating inwards. So let's go back and we'll talk a little bit more about this in reference to some of the issues that can correspond with this phase. So some of the common problems that can happen with our menstrual phase are we can have too long bleeding, we can have no bleeding, we can have things like very short bleeding, we can have spotting, we can also have issues like migraines, heavy cramps as well, painful menstruation, acne, bloating. So some of those things, they're common issues that women experience when they're in this phase. And some of them are contributed to other parts of our feminine rhythm and the hormones that happen in those areas. But heavy bleeding is one of the ones that really it can lead to things like anemia, feeling lightheaded, having depleted iron stores as well. So those are things that really someone wants to be cautious of if that's what they're experiencing. And other areas like things like painful menstrual cramps. Obviously women with endometriosis, that can be even more painful because not only are they having cramps just in their uterus, they're going to kind of experience that throughout their body, and it can be very painful. But, ideally, we're going to look at what this phase should look like so that we can have a picture of like, okay, well, those are some of the issues. What should it look like? And then how can we get there? So ideally, our menstrual phase should be about 4 to 7 days long. That's within the normal range. Some people have a little shorter, maybe it's 3 to 4 days. Some people have on the longer end, maybe it's 5 to 7 days for them. But that's the normal range of bleeding. So it shouldn't necessarily be constant heavy bleeding the entire time. It should taper in and taper out. And then also cramps, light cramps are normal. But having heavy cramps that you're in so much pain that you can't do your daily tasks or you need to call out of work sick, that's not normal. Normal cramps are something that usually someone can work through, and they aren't going to keep someone from doing something that they really need to do that day. So they shouldn't be disabling. They should be, like I said, light, and ideally someone might not have any cramps. That doesn't happen for everyone, but that is a possibility. And then the other thing that's normal during this time is to be low energy and calm, but not depressed, not so low energy that you don't want to get out of bed. So those are some things to consider. If you are having really low energy, then is that something that you might need to talk to your doctor about and work on? So we'll talk about some ways that we can support ourselves in this phase as well, so that we can get to that ideal picture. So next, let's talk about some of the nutrition that we need during this phase. During this phase, we're going to be losing some blood. That's pretty apparent. We're going to also be preparing. Technically, this is when we start to prepare the egg for our ovulation, which will be the third phase, and you can look for that video in a few weeks. But really, that's going to be, it's a winter time. That's kind of how this phase compares to the 4 seasons. This is a time where we're letting things rest. We need to rest. We're going to go inwards, retreat, have a little bit more self-care, alone time probably. And that is because we're allowing things to rest. So just like how we have rhythms in our nature, in seasons, animals retreat, they hibernate, we do the same thing during this phase, and that kind of reflects into our feminine rhythms, kind of seasonality. And it's a shorter seasonality, so it comes a little bit more often, but that's something to consider. If we are trying to expect ourselves to be more social during this time, we can kind of buffer our expectations for the energy that we're going to have to be able to do that. And then the nutrition side of things, so we can nourish ourselves with rest, but we can also nourish ourselves with food. And so because we are going to be losing blood, vitamin K can help build up the blood, and that's something that we can get through green leafy vegetables, spinach, chard, kale, mustard greens. Even lettuce has vitamin K in it, and that will really help us rebuild blood cells that we're going to be losing. So that is one way that we can help support ourselves. And then the next way that I want to talk about is seed cycling. Seed cycling uses a set of 4 types of seeds. You cycle them throughout the month, and some of those seeds have compounds in them that are going to help with the hormones that we need to produce or not produce within certain phases of our cycle. So this phase, we're actually starting to produce estrogen. Like we looked at that chart, it's starting to go up from its lowest point. So we need to provide our ovaries with the nutrients that it needs in order to have that estrogen produced. So flax and pumpkin are the first 2 seeds that are used in seed cycling for the first 14 days. And so that is something that someone would be using because flax, that has phytoestrogens in it, so it can help buffer us if we don't have quite enough. So it kind of has something that our body can convert into an estrogen so that we can have enough in order to keep ourselves bolstered. And then we also have compounds in there that are called lignans that our body can use as a nutrient to convert into estrogens and help support estrogen production. Pumpkin seeds also have zinc, so they're, like I had talked about, we're developing an egg, we're actually starting it during this time, and so zinc is a valuable nutrient in production of an egg. So those are things. If you want to learn more about seed cycling, I have a link in the description where you can download a handout. It talks all about what it is, how to be able to do it, why you would want to use it, and you'll be able to find out a little bit more about that and apply it if you want to do that. So seed cycling is one of the ways that we can help support our hormone production during this time as well. And then, like I had talked about, retreating inwards, making sure we're getting enough rest, giving ourselves the time in leeway to have enough rest is really important as well. So I really hope that this is helpful for you. And what I'll be doing is in April, I'll actually be having a whole course called Feminine Rhythms about these types of topics. And it'll dig a little bit deeper on how we can bring our feminine rhythm into balance, learn our own unique rhythm, and figure out how we can support ourselves nutritionally within that. So if you're interested, keep your eye out. I'll eventually have a link in the description so you can find that when it's ready. You can also sign up for the waiting list by downloading the seed cycling documents. So if you're looking for that, I hope that it'll be helpful. And until then, be well.